In a village surrounded by rolling hills and ancient baobab trees, there lived a man named Kofi, known for his charm and the way his laughter could brighten even the dullest days. Kofi had finally decided to marry. His bride Amma was a woman of great beauty and grace, and unlike many women in the village, she was still a virgin. This fact made the union the talk of the village, for in their culture Amma's purity was seen as a precious gift. The wedding was a grand affair filled with the rhythmic beating of drums, the sweet scent of roasted yams, and the vibrant colours of kente cloth fluttering in the warm breeze. Elders sang blessings. Children danced around the fire, and the entire community gathered to witness the sacred bonds between Kofi and Amma. When night fell and the celebrations quieted, Kofi and Amma retired to their new home. Amma's heart fluttered with anticipation, the years of waiting now culminating in this one night. But as the moon cast a silver glow through the window, Kofi seemed distant. Before their first embrace, Kofi excused himself and stepped outside, where the faint murmur of voices reached Amma's ears. She caught fragments of his conversation with one of his mistresses, a secret lover he had kept hidden even from himself until now. The words were like cold rain on her warm skin. When Kofi finally returned, he was quiet and soon fell into a deep sleep. Leaving Amma alone in the stillness of the room, she tried gently to draw him close, to ignite the flame that would mark their beginning, but he remained unmoved. She wondered if the exhaustion from the day's festivities had stolen his strength, or if something more lay beneath his silence. Amma lay awake, the night stretching endlessly before her, and the silence between them, heavier than any spoken word. He snored beside her, unaware his chest rising and falling with the rhythm of someone who had long stopped noticing the ache in others. In the quiet, his breathing seemed almost cruel. She turned toward the ceiling, blinking away the weight in her eyes. When morning came, he stirred before her. She hadn't slept, but closed her eyes anyway, just to feel the absence. The bed dipped with his She heard the familiar rustle, the toothbrush, shirt, belt buckle, and then, unexpectedly sorry, he said, voice low, rough, as if the words hadn't been used in years. Amma's eyes opened. She sat up slowly. What did you say? He didn't look at her, just rubbed the back of his neck, avoided her gaze. She wanted to reach for him to pull him in quotes. But when she stood, he stepped back, muttered something about being late, and was gone before she could answer. Amma stood in the kitchen, hands on the counter, unsure whether to cry or to keep pretending. Everything was just tiredness, just work stress, just not yet, not yet. She wasn't ready to conclude. Each every day began with silence and ended with tension. It felt like smoke in her lungs. Amma stopped waiting for mornings to bring new chances. Each sunrise now only announced another round in a game. She never agreed to play. He changed us out. Or maybe he had only finally unmasked himself. Either way, the man she once loved had become a stranger with her husband's voice. The apologies disappeared first. Then came the financial control, essay gentle at first, like him offering to handle the bills soon. Her access to the bank account vanished. The joint one quietly closed. He began asking her what she needed money for. A loaf of bread, toothpaste. Dignity, then came the words, sharp, cold, and wielded with precision. You're lucky I haven't left yet. Do you think anyone else would put up with you? Amma swallowed those words like glass. She became skilled at pretending cuts, at smiling in church, laughing with neighbors, serving his dinner, like nothing was dying in her. But something was. He stopped touching her, not because of distance by her, but as punishment. Weeks passed, then months. Each time she reached for him, he turned away, like her skin repulsed him. To like her body was a crime he refused to acknowledge. He used sex not as connection, but as a weapon. He knew the power of denial, knew how her silence deepened every time he pushed her away at night, only to demand everything from her the next morning. If she were a servant, Aunt, she whispered, I miss you in the dark. He laughed. You're too needy. Maybe you should pray more. When she questioned something, Matt, even gently, Matt. He threatened divorce, always with calm cruelty, always when she least expected it. Amma, just say the word, maybe that's what you want. But it wasn't what she wanted. She had married for love, for forever, for the home she had imagined since girlhood, filled with warmth, shared laughter, children, maybe softness. Instead, she lived with a man who watched her cry without blinking, a man who counted her tears, like coins, and but spent none of his empathy. She stopped calling her friends back. Her family thought she was just busy, and maybe she was busy, surviving. Amma stopped to sleep. Her pillow never stayed dry anymore. Sometimes she found herself staring at the door for hours, wondering if walking through, Titan never coming back, Titan would be the bravest or the weakest thing she'd ever do. A world, once full of colour and light, was now grey, dimmed by the cruelty of unmet expectations and the quiet erosion of love. But deep within her, so muffled, a voice remained. Not yet. She wasn't done, but she was close.
Next, the man began keeping late nights. What started as occasional overtime at work slowly became a pattern she could no longer ignore. He stopped offering explanations altogether, and when he did, they were short, vague, and left more questions than answers. Some nights he wouldn't come home until well past midnight, sometimes not at all. When she asked, he'd brush her off with a tired excuse. I was with the guys, or you worry too much. But it wasn't just the lateness. It was the way he returned clothes, smelling faintly of unfamiliar perfume. His demeanor, colder, more distant. Sometimes he'd head straight for the shower without a word, leaving his phone clutched tightly in his hand, like it held the secrets of his soul. And it did. She wasn't naive. She saw the signs he'd grown overly protective of that phone. He used to leave it lying around, sometimes forgetting it on the couch or the dining table. The screen was always turned away from view, and he'd started using a fingerprint lock, one she had no access to. The emotional walls between them had thickened. Conversation became transactional, limited to household matters or clipped one-word responses. His laughter, once familiar, once warm, had found new company, and though she never caught him outright, her instincts screamed louder than his lies. The quiet messages in his behavior spoke volumes. Then came the whispers, muted calls taken in the next room, the smirks he tried to hide while typing messages late into the night, and the unfamiliar names that popped up on the caller ID before his D quickly swiped them away. If she asked, he'd grow defensive, accuse her of being paranoid, insecure. But the truth was written in what he didn't say, in the sudden coldness of his touch, in the way he no longer looked her in the eyes, in how his presence felt more absent than his absence ever did.